Hello, class. Sorry I couldn't be there with you today, but I wanted to go ahead and keep you on schedule with the lessons that I have planned out for the rest of this year. And that would move us today into topic 13-1. So there's a continuation from your fourth grade standard of measurements of area and perimeter. And so now I would like to substitute to pass out the orange reference cards to every student. And with those orange reference cards, they're under the small whiteboard. They're orange in that black file folder that's on the side of the whiteboard. Every student will have their own copy. You need to hole punch it. Make sure that when you hole punch it, you look at both sides of the reference card so as to not put holes in your ruler. And so the reference card that I want you, what it looks like is, this is your reference card. So you need to make sure that you're not hole punching here where your inches rule is. So make sure that you're hole punching where there's an empty space. So here your reference card has the perimeter here on the back side and area. These are the two topics we're going to do, 13.1 and 13.2 today. So go ahead and pass out one of the reference cards for every one of the students. I had enough copies sent off at the start of the year. Many of you already know where they are because I referred to them in the previous weeks. So take that time, no pushing, no shoving, just take your copy, hole punch it, and leave it out for this lesson. And at the end of this class, you need to put it in your binder and keep up with it. It's not going to be an item that's going to be continuously replaced. So pause the video and take time to allow each student to hole punch that and take it back to their desk. If you get back to your desk and you're sitting to wait, go ahead and take your journal out and label it perimeter in the second page area with the 2-column note sections. And then we're going to start on the journal activity once everyone has their hole punch and the substitute restarts the video. Okay, so you should have journaled already to have your title and your corner notes already prepared. So the first thing we're going to look at is the definition. So the definition of a perimeter is the distance around a 2D or two-dimensional shape. So when you're talking about going around a 2D shape, 2D shapes are all the shapes that you learned last week. So you have to remember, the lessons we learn, we build on them in the next weeks. So therefore, if you're still unfamiliar about 2D shapes, you need to look back through your text and review those outside of the classroom so that you're familiar when you see the word 2D shape. Then you'll know we're looking at going around for perimeter. So outside of just looking at the definition, we're also going to be discussing how do we found it. So I'm going to switch colors. How do we find perimeter? How do we find perimeter? We find perimeter by adding the lengths of each side. So we do so by adding the lengths of each side. And I'm going to give you an example in a minute. I want you to make sure that you're paying attention to this being 2D. Okay? And when we say perimeter, we're looking for P, an uppercase P. So make sure that you are paying attention to that. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the center as well. So that I know that all this information is related to perimeter, because we're going to do area as well. Okay, so an example. So we need to look at an example. You know, I always like to give you examples. So this would be an example. We're going to do 2 examples. I'm going to give you the first example. So example 1, we're going to just look at a square. And a square has how many sides? I hope you said 4 equal sides. So if there are 4 equal sides, then let's say this is 4 centimeters. Then all we need to do is to use our reference chart we could use the reference chart here. So you see square is P equals 4 times your size. Remember, a number next to a variable means you are multiplying. So if we say it is 4 and it is times 4 sides, 4 times 4 is 16. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. 4 times 4, 4 centimeters times 4 sides is 16. So it would be 16 centimeters. If you were going to add it, you could do 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 will still give you 16. So let's look at an example that is not a square. So now we're going to look at rectangles. So look at your reference card. It says perimeter here, and then you go down and find rectangle. The formula is to find the perimeter, we're going to do 2 times our length plus 2 times our width. So that's the formula we're going to use to find the perimeter for a rectangle. So we're going to use this rectangle as our example. We have a 6 foot across our length, and our width we have as 4 foot. And so we're going to use our formula that we just talked about, 2 length plus 2 width is how we found our P. So we will substitute what our length is. We just said our length is 6, so that's our length. That's the little cursive L. And our width we have as 4. So if we do 2 times 6, we get what? 12. And then 2 times our width of 4, 2 times 4, that's correct, it's 8. And we put the 2 together. We add the total length and the total width, and we get 20. So the total perimeter is 20 feet. If you're having questions or you were confused on either of these, then have the substitute pause, rewind, and play this portion again. If you're still confused after that, you have that reference sheet in your 13-1 on the left side page to provide you with these same examples or similar examples to help you to understand how to calculate perimeter for a square and how to calculate perimeter for a rectangle. So for now, you're only going to be using it for a square and for a rectangle. So this is an addition to your journaling that we haven't really journaled, but we've talked about it, and that is the real world use. So how can you use perimeter in the real world? Because we need to know what we're learning this material and how's it going to help us when we grow up or we move on beyond 5th grade. Excuse me. So I want you to brainstorm for a few seconds. We're going to just take 30 seconds for you just to think about, where do I think someone would need to go around a shape to measure something? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's related to building and designing. So your 30 seconds start now. So just think. Don't talk. Just think about it. Okay, so some of the things that you may have thought of with thinking about how people are using area and perimeter is when they are working on a house, building a house, whenever they're doing a garden, if they're putting up a fence, a door, or even when you want to put a roof, because you need to know the sides of the house. So you have the side of the house, 2 sides, they should be the same. Then you have your front and your back. So these are just a few examples. These are not the only times you will be able to use this, because if you're boxing off a driveway to pour concrete, then you need to put in that box frame, and you need to know how much of the 2x4s you need to buy to make that boxed area in order to put in the concrete. So it is a lot of uses, and I would like for you to go home and have a discussion with your family and see if they are familiar with perimeter and how they use it in their day-to-day or in their lives in general. So here are some practice problems that we're going to do together as a class. So if you look at this, you can draw the shape if you want to, or you can just follow along with the video. So on number 1, you see here on number 1, what do you think the length is? First off, let me ask, what do you think the shape is? Because it's very important that you can identify the 2D shape. So what shape is it? You know we're only looking at square and rectangle. So is it a square or is it a rectangle? It is a rectangle. So therefore, you need to look at the reference card for the formula that goes with the perimeter for a rectangle. And that formula is, say it with me, perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Let's say it again. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So now we're going to do a replacement of our length. So what is the length on this rectangle? Length is how long is it? So that would be, yes, the 54. So we would do 2 times 54. And we're just going to set up the equation. We're not going to solve yet. And then our width, we're going to replace that W with a 13. And so you should have a formula that says 2 times 54 plus 2 times 13. Okay? So what is 2 times 54? That's right, 108. You can double it or you can actually multiply it out. And what is 2 times 13? That's correct, 26. So now you should have 108 plus 26. So you're going to now do addition. So when you add that, you will have 134 is the perimeter. And the measurement unit is in feet. Correct? Let's look back at it again. The length was 54, so it was 2 times 54. And the width was 13, 2 times 13. So you did 2 times 54 gives us 108, 108. 2 times 13 gives us 26. So now we're going to add these two because you don't want to forget your addition symbols. 108 plus 26 is 134. Don't leave it in just a standard number form because you're looking at measurements. So you have to put it back with the P, capital P, equals 134 feet, which is the unit of measurement. It's very important that you remember to put your unit of measurement because sometimes they're going to be different units of measurements and you have to do conversions, which we'll be working on that next week. So make sure that you rewrite it and pay attention to what your unit of measurement is. So let's look at another one. We're going to look at number 2. Number 2 is a rectangle. And we have a length of 36 and a width of 12 yards. We're looking at yards. YD is yards. So we have to do our formula again. So here, 2 times 36 plus 2 times 12 equals 72 plus 24. And then the total is 96. And so you solve it with perimeter equals 96 yards. As so. Okay? I want you to try 3 and 4. And then pause and restart the video, and I will provide the answers for those two after the students have had time to practice. Here's what you should have had for number 3. The formula again, still a rectangle. So you had the 2 and replace the length with 24 and the width with 10, which ends up with 48 plus 20. And when you add these two together, you get 68, which gives you the perimeter equals 68 yards. Number 4. Number 4, it was a rectangle. You ended up with the length being 12 and the width 14. That's 2 times 12 plus 2 times the width of 14. 2 times 12 is 24. 2 times 14 is 28. And when you add 24 and 28, you get 52. And you rewrite it as perimeter equals 52. and the unit of measurement was feet. So I hope you was able to get those two correct. What I would like for the substitute to do now is to allow you to work the guided practice in the textbook on 13.1 as well as the independent practice. You can only get help from those at your table, and then you can go and get it checked through the teacher's book, which is going to be under that cowboy cover table. That textbook is either going to be under there or to be laying on top of the teacher table. It's going to be the topic 13 teacher edition book. So go ahead and pause the video, work on that, and you're going to pull that homework page out for your rotations. If you were successful with that, then you're going to be able to complete the activity that I have set up for you to practice what you just learned with area and perimeter. And you're only going to be working with rectangles and squares for this activity. So I previously recorded a video for this activity, so I'm going to play that video because it's going to be the same activity that you're going to be doing now. And you're going to use the coordinate grid paper that I have on the cowboy table as well. If that has ran out, then you can use regular graph paper over in the locker room. But each student is going to need 6 cards. You can use the cards that you use in your product circle, and you don't need the numbers less than 5. So if you get a number less than 5, I want you to switch it for another card. But you're going to need six individual player cards from your product circle, and your numbers need to be 5 and greater. It can be the face cards because I'm going to explain to you what the values are for those face cards again. So I'm going to play the video, and then you'll be able to complete the activity at the end of class. Once this activity should take you throughout the end of class if you take your time and do it correctly. I do want this turned in to the substitute on the teacher table, and if there is time left at the end of class, then the substitute can put you in your table groups based on the spiral review table, the Think Through Math Big Brain, product circle, and the division circle. But that's only after everyone has completed the activity. So I'm going to start the video now for you to see the activity that you are to complete for perimeter. And then we will work on area tomorrow. We're going to be using rectangles. So I'm going to need a length and a width. So I'm going to pull my first 2 cards. My first card is 6, and my second card is 10. So this means I have a 6 by 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count. I can decide to go anywhere. My paper is not as large as yours. You have graph paper, so you're going to have more room than I have. It's just because I drew this on the butcher paper so that you're able to see what I'm doing. It's why I have a limited amount of space. So I'm going to just start my room up here. But before I start to do that, I need to write down what my room measurements is so I can decide how I'm going to put those rooms together. So my first one is a 10 by 6. So I'm going to write 10 by 6. Let me use a marker so you can see that. That's my room 1. So I'm going to flip my next 2 cards. I have a 6 and a 5. So this tells me this room is a 5 by 6. 5 by 6. Then I have my last 2 cards, 10 and a jack. Now my jack is an 11. If you pull a queen, then it's going to be for 12. If you pull a king, then it's 13. So once again, a jack is 11, a queen is 12, and a king is 13. And I'm going to leave that note on the board as well. So here I have a 10 by 11. So I have 3 rooms. So I know I need a kitchen, I need a bedroom, and I need a TV room. So those are the 3 rooms that I'm going to pick. So out of all of these, I want the room that is the largest to be my bedroom. But you might not want the largest room to be your bedroom. You might want your largest room to be your TV room, your game room, your whatever room you decide to make that room. But me, I want my largest room to be my bedroom. So I know this is going to be my bedroom. And then my smallest room is going to be my kitchen. And then my living room. So now I know what each of my rooms is going to be. I have to put my rooms in the grid. But it's not just putting it in the grid. It has to touch. In your home, all your rooms touch. It's not separated into different buildings. You don't have a bedroom building, a living room building, a kitchen building. They're all connected to each other to make the home. The apartment, the studio, the school is put together as one building. So the Boys and Girls Club is put together as one building. Malls. So that's what we're doing here. You're going to put these three together as your room. So I'm going to do one out, show you why the video is moving, and then I'm going to show you the finished product. So for my first room, I want to go with, I'm going to do this as, go ahead and put my living room here. So I want my living room to be 10 long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know I have to stop there because that's 10 square units. And I want it to go down 6 because I've used the 10, now I need to use the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's where my horizontal is going to be. So I trace the line. And I have my living room. And my living room is 10 units by 6 units. So that is my 10 by 6. So now that I have that, I can start to work my perimeter. So I know that my perimeter formula is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So I'm going to have to find the perimeter. So let me put all of my rooms together, and then I'm going to start solving for perimeter and area. Now I've finished all of my rooms, living room, kitchen, bedroom. I have my measurements for length and width to match all of my rooms. So I'm going to use my formula chart, my resource material with my perimeter and area formula. Here I know my rectangular perimeter formula, so I'm going to write that. And I only worked one. So I picked the living room to show you as an example. So 2 times my length, I replaced the length with 10. My width I replaced with 6. I did 20. It was 12 added together. And that is the perimeter is 32 units. Okay, so you have the instructions on how to complete the perimeter activity. Now I know I did mention area in that video, but I only want you to work on perimeter. The area piece we'll add it in later because there's another activity I want you to do beforehand, and I need to go back over your formulas and practice model problems with you for area before I have you working on area for this project. So do your 3 rooms, which are 6 cards. That's 3 rooms with 2 cards each. One's the length, one's the width. Find the perimeter and go ahead and complete that activity. Name your rooms and make sure that you put your name on it before you turn it into the desk. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a good day.